The way you move through the world speaks volumes about your inner energy. And one of the most transformative micro habits you can adopt is learning to walk with intentional hip movement. This isn't about performing for others. It's about reconnecting with the natural flow of your feminine essence that lives within your body. When we operate primarily from masculine energy, our movements become rigid and goal-oriented. We walk with stiff spines, locked hips, and purposeful strides that get us from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. While there's nothing wrong with efficiency, constantly moving this way disconnects us from our sensual, flowing nature. Your hips are the sacred center of feminine power. They house your creative energy, your intuition, and your capacity for pleasure. When you allow your hips to move freely as you walk, you're literally awakening dormant aspects of your femininity. This movement sends signals throughout your entire nervous system that it's safe to be soft, safe to flow, and safe to take up space in a graceful way. Start by putting on music that makes you feel confident and sensual. As you walk, imagine your hips as the center of a figure-8 pattern. Let them sway naturally with each step, creating a gentle rhythm that feels authentic to you. Your shoulders can soften, your spine can maintain its natural curves, and your entire body can participate in this flowing movement. This practice isn't about exaggeration or performance. It's about permission. Permission to move with grace, to take up space, to let your body express its natural rhythms. Many women report feeling instantly more confident and embodied after just one mindful walk with hip awareness. The beautiful thing about this micro habit is that it requires no additional time in your day. Whether you're walking to your car, through the grocery store, or around your neighborhood, you can practice this embodied movement. Each step becomes an opportunity to reconnect with your feminine flow and step more fully into your power. Notice how this simple shift affects not just how you feel in your body, but how you show up in the world. When you move with intentional grace, you signal to yourself and others that you value your feminine essence and aren't afraid to express it. One of the biggest myths about feminine self-care is that it requires hours of preparation to make any meaningful difference. This all-or-nothing mentality keeps countless women stuck in cycles of neglecting themselves simply because they don't have time for the full beauty routine. The truth is, micro dress-up sessions can be just as transformative as elaborate preparation rituals. A 5-minute investment in your appearance isn't about vanity or superficiality. It's about honoring yourself and signaling to your nervous system that you matter. When you take even small steps to present yourself beautifully, you're engaging in an act of self-respect that ripples through every aspect of your day. Consider what makes you feel most put together in the shortest amount of time. For some women, it's filling in their eyebrows and applying lip color. For others, it might be changing into an outfit that makes them feel confident, adding a piece of jewelry that catches the light, or simply running their fingers through their hair with intention. The key is identifying your personal, minimum effective dose, the smallest actions that create the biggest shift in how you feel about yourself. These aren't compromises or settling for less. They're strategic choices that honor both your time constraints and your need to feel beautiful. This practice becomes especially powerful during challenging seasons of life. Whether you're navigating the demands of new motherhood, intense work periods, or personal transitions, maintaining some connection to your feminine expression through micro dress-up keeps you tethered to yourself. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. When you spend 5 minutes intentionally caring for your appearance, you're practicing mindfulness and self-love. You're telling yourself that even in the midst of chaos, you deserve to feel beautiful and cared for. Notice how these small acts of self-care affect your posture, your confidence, and your willingness to engage with the world. Often, the woman who takes 5 minutes to honor her beauty shows up more fully than the woman who spends an hour pursuing perfection, but feels stressed and rushed. Start viewing these micro dress-up sessions not as shortcuts, but as concentrated doses of self-love that can transform your entire day with minimal time investment. One of the most profound shifts you can make toward embodying feminine energy is learning to gracefully ask for and receive help. In a culture that celebrates independence and self-reliance, many women have internalized the belief that needing assistance is a sign of weakness. This couldn't be further from the truth. The ability to receive support is actually a powerful expression of feminine wisdom. Think about the last time you wandered through a store, searching for something specific while an employee stood nearby, ready to help. Or consider how often you've struggled with a task that could be easily resolved with guidance from someone more experienced. These moments aren't just about efficiency. They're opportunities to practice one of the most essential feminine arts, the art of receiving. The feminine principle is inherently receptive. It understands that collaboration and interdependence create more beautiful outcomes than isolated struggle. When you allow others to support you, you're not diminishing your strength. You're accessing a different kind of power altogether. Start with small, low-stakes situations. Ask the grocery store employee where to find an item instead of searching every aisle. Accept the offered help from a store associate who knows exactly where that dress you saw online is located. Say yes when someone offers to carry something heavy or open a door for you. Notice the resistance that might arise. Many women feel guilty about bothering others or worry about appearing incompetent. These fears often stem from masculine conditioning that equates worth with total self-sufficiency. But consider this: when you allow others to help you, you're actually giving them an opportunity to feel useful and generous. Develop the mantra, "It gets to be easy," and use it whenever you notice yourself making things unnecessarily difficult. This phrase reminds you that struggle isn't virtuous, and that finding the path of least resistance is often the wisest choice. The practice of receiving help extends beyond practical assistance. It includes accepting compliments gracefully, allowing others to contribute to your projects, and being open to guidance when you're facing challenges. Each time you receive support with gratitude rather than guilt, you strengthen your capacity to live in feminine flow. Remember, asking for help isn't about being helpless. It's about being resourceful and recognizing that connection and collaboration often create better outcomes than isolated effort. In a productivity-obsessed world, one of the most radical acts a woman can perform is deliberately choosing pleasure for its own sake. This isn't about indulgence or frivolity. It's about remembering that joy and beauty are essential nutrients for the feminine soul, not luxury add-ons to be earned through productivity. The masculine energy that dominates our culture insists that every action must serve a purpose, generate income, or contribute to some measurable goal. While this energy has its place, living exclusively within its parameters starves the feminine aspects of our nature that thrive on beauty, creativity, and sensual enjoyment. Consider the simple pleasure of reading fiction before bed. This isn't skill development or career advancement. It's pure enjoyment that allows your mind to wander into other worlds and your nervous system to shift into a state of receptive relaxation. These moments of non-productive pleasure are actually deeply restorative and essential for maintaining your feminine essence. Other micro-pleasures might include listening to music that makes you want to dance, watching birds outside your window, baking something delicious just because you enjoy the process, or spending 10 minutes arranging flowers in a vase. These activities don't produce measurable outcomes, but they feed your soul in ways that task-oriented activities cannot. The key is releasing the need to justify these moments of pleasure. You don't need to earn the right to enjoy beauty, creativity, or sensual experience. These are birthright experiences that connect you to your feminine nature and remind you that life is meant to be savored, not just survived. Start by identifying small activities that bring you pure joy without serving any practical purpose. Notice any guilt or resistance that arises when you engage in these activities. And gently remind yourself that pleasure is not selfish, it's necessary. A woman who regularly feeds her soul with beauty and joy has more to offer the world than one who operates purely from duty and obligation. Schedule these pleasure moments into your day, just as you would any important appointment. Even 5 minutes of reading poetry, listening to your favorite song, or simply sitting in sunshine can shift your entire energy from doing mode into being mode. Remember, the feminine principle understands that life's sweetness comes not from achievement alone, but from the ability to receive and appreciate beauty in all its forms. The constant mental juggling act that modern life demands keeps you trapped in your head, disconnected from the embodied wisdom that characterizes feminine energy, creating what's known as a second brain, an external system for storing and organizing information, is actually a powerful tool for returning to your body and accessing your intuitive nature. When your mind is cluttered with grocery lists, appointment reminders, creative ideas, and endless to-do items, there's no space left for the quiet listening that allows feminine wisdom to emerge. Your brain becomes a storage unit rather than the creative, intuitive instrument it's meant to be. By transferring all this information to an external system, you free up mental space for presence, creativity, and bodily awareness. This practice goes far beyond simple organization. It's about creating the mental spaciousness necessary for feminine energy to flourish. When you're not constantly trying to remember whether you need cucumbers or when your next dentist appointment is scheduled, you can actually feel what's happening in your body and respond to your intuitive impulses. Your second brain can be as simple as a well-organized planner and calendar system, or as sophisticated as a digital platform like Notion, where you can store everything from restaurant recommendations to creative inspiration. The key is choosing a system that feels supportive rather than overwhelming, and then consistently using it to clear mental clutter. Start by doing a complete brain dump. Write down every task, idea, worry, and piece of information currently taking up mental real estate. Sort these items into categories: things to do today, things to do later, information to remember, and ideas to explore. Then create designated spaces for each category in your external system. The practice of immediately capturing thoughts and tasks in your second brain becomes a form of meditation. Instead of letting new information swirl around in your head, you can quickly note it and return to presence. This simple habit dramatically reduces mental chatter and anxiety. As you develop this practice, notice how much more embodied and present you feel throughout the day. When your mind isn't occupied with storage and retrieval, it becomes available for the subtle awareness, creative inspiration, and intuitive guidance that characterize feminine consciousness. Your external brain becomes a sacred container that holds the practical details of life, leaving your internal awareness free to engage with beauty, relationship, and the present moment. In a world that rewards speed and efficiency above all else, deliberately slowing down becomes a revolutionary act of feminine reclamation. The constant rushing that characterizes modern life isn't just exhausting. It actively prevents you from accessing the intuitive wisdom, creative flow, and embodied presence that are hallmarks of feminine energy. When you're perpetually rushing, your nervous system remains in a state of activation that blocks access to your deeper knowing. Intuition requires space and stillness to emerge. Creativity needs time to unfold organically. Body awareness demands presence rather than the forward-projected consciousness that rushing creates. This doesn't mean moving through life at a snail's pace or abandoning all sense of purpose and direction. It means choosing moments throughout your day to deliberately slow down and reconnect with your body and breath. It means walking to your car with awareness rather than racing against an imaginary clock. It means stirring your morning coffee with presence rather than impatience. Consider your evening skincare routine as an opportunity to practice sacred slowness. Instead of rushing through the motions, use this time to connect with your body through loving touch. Feel the temperature of the water on your skin. Notice the texture of your cleansing products. And use gentle movements that honor rather than rush through your self-care. The same principle applies to cooking, walking, getting dressed, or any daily activity. When you approach these tasks with unhurried presence, They transform from chores into opportunities for embodied awareness. Your nervous system begins to relax, your breathing deepens, and your entire being shifts from doing mode into being mode. Start by choosing one daily activity to practice intentional slowness. Perhaps it's the way you brush your teeth, prepare your meals, or move through your morning routine. Approach this activity as a meditation, bringing your full attention to each sensation and movement. Notice how this practice affects not just the specific activity, but your overall state of being. Moments of deliberate slowness create ripple effects throughout your day, reminding your system that it's safe to relax and that rushing isn't always necessary for effectiveness. The feminine principle understands that some of life's most important experiences, love, creativity, healing, and wisdom, cannot be rushed. They require the spaciousness that only slowing down can provide. Perfectionism is one of the most insidious ways that masculine energy can dominate and drain the feminine spirit. The constant pressure to achieve 100% perfection in everything you do doesn't create excellence. It creates exhaustion, anxiety, and a disconnection from the joy and flow that make life worth living. The feminine principle understands that beauty often lies in the imperfect, the organic, and the authentic. Consider how nature operates. No two flowers are identical. No sunset is perfectly symmetrical. Yet these imperfections create the very beauty we find so compelling. Your life and creative expressions can embody this same organic perfection. Learning to embrace 95% good enough isn't about lowering your standards or accepting mediocrity. It's about recognizing that the pursuit of impossible perfection often prevents you from sharing your gifts with the world and experiencing the satisfaction of completion. How many projects remain unfinished because they don't meet impossibly high standards? How many creative expressions never see the light of day because they are not perfect enough? This practice requires discernment. Some situations genuinely require your highest level of precision and care. But most daily tasks, creative projects, and life experiences can be beautifully complete at 95%. Your home doesn't need to look like a magazine spread to be a beautiful sanctuary. Your creative work doesn't need to be flawless to be meaningful and valuable. Start by consciously asking yourself with each task or project, does this need to be 100%? Or can this be beautifully complete at 95%? Notice how often you've been unconsciously applying perfectionist standards to situations where they're not necessary or helpful. The energy you free up by embracing good enough can be redirected toward presence, pleasure, and authentic expression. Instead of spending hours agonizing over minor details that no one else will notice, you can invest that energy in activities that truly nourish your soul and serve your larger purposes. This practice is particularly important for creative endeavors. The feminine creative force is meant to flow and express, not to be constantly edited and criticized before it's allowed to exist. By sharing your work at 95%, you give it life and allow it to serve its purpose in the world. Remember, done beautifully is infinitely better than perfect, but never completed. Your imperfect action creates more positive impact than your perfect inaction ever could. The practice of buying yourself small treats isn't about materialism or frivolous spending. It's about fundamentally shifting your relationship with your own worthiness. When you consistently deny yourself small pleasures while readily spending money on practical necessities, you're unconsciously communicating that your joy and pleasure are unimportant luxuries rather than essential aspects of a well-lived life. This pattern often stems from deep conditioning that suggests self-care and pleasure must be earned through productivity or sacrifice. The feminine energy within you knows better. It understands that joy and beauty are not rewards for good behavior, but natural experiences that keep your spirit alive and your heart open. Small treats are powerful because they require you to pause and acknowledge your desires. That moment when you see beautiful flowers at the grocery store and think, "I'd love those," is an opportunity to either honor or dismiss your own wants. Choosing to honor these small desires trains you to value your inner experience and trust that your happiness matters. These micro investments in your joy might include a special tea that makes you smile, nail polish in a color that speaks to you, or taking yourself out for a smoothie on a beautiful day. The specific treat matters less than the underlying message you're sending yourself. You deserve to experience pleasure and beauty simply because you exist. Notice any resistance that arises when you consider spending money on something purely because it brings you joy. Often, this resistance carries messages about being frivolous or selfish. These are cultural conditioning patterns that keep you small and disconnected from your natural right to experience pleasure. The practice of self-cherishing through small treats also trains you to receive love and care, which many women struggle with. When you can lovingly give yourself a small gift, you become more comfortable receiving gifts and care from others. You develop a template for what it feels like to be treasured. Start small and notice how these micro treats affect your overall sense of worthiness and joy. Pay attention to how differently you feel when you honor your small desires versus when you consistently dismiss them. The cumulative effect of these small acts of self-love creates a foundation of self-worth that supports you in all areas of life. Remember, a woman who knows how to cherish herself sets the standard for how others treat her and has more love to offer the world. Your calendar is more than a practical tool for managing appointments. It's a reflection of your values and a powerful declaration of what you consider important enough to protect with boundaries. When your schedule consists entirely of obligations, tasks, and responsibilities for others, you're unconsciously communicating that your own needs and desires are less important than everything else demanding your attention. The practice of scheduling your personal time, self-care rituals, and pleasure activities into your calendar isn't selfish, it's strategic. It ensures that the activities that nourish your feminine essence don't get crowded out by the endless demands of daily life. When your bath time, creative pursuits, or solo walk are scheduled appointments, they become protected time that you're less likely to sacrifice for other people's priorities. This practice also shifts how you view your personal time from optional luxury to essential maintenance. Just as you wouldn't skip a medical appointment because other things came up, scheduling your self-care makes it non-negotiable. Your evening ritual, your morning meditation, or your weekly creative time becomes as important as any other commitment. Consider what activities make you feel most connected to your feminine essence. Perhaps it's taking long baths with candles and music, going for contemplative walks in nature, having solo coffee dates with your journal, or spending time on creative projects that feed your soul. These aren't frivolous activities. They're essential practices that keep you balanced and connected to yourself. Use colors that bring you joy when adding these appointments to your calendar. Seeing your self-care time highlighted in beautiful colors sends a subconscious message about the value and importance of these activities. It also makes your calendar more visually appealing and inspiring to look at. The act of scheduling personal time also helps you notice patterns in when you most need different types of self-care. You might discover that you need more grounding activities during busy work weeks, or that creative time is especially important during certain seasons of your life. Start by blocking out just 1 or 2 activities per week that are purely for your own nourishment. Notice how having this protected time affects your overall sense of well-being and your ability to show up fully for other responsibilities. Often, women discover that when they consistently honor their own needs through scheduled self-care, they have more energy and presence to offer others. Your calendar becomes a tool for creating the life you want, rather than just managing the life that happens to you.